Okay, quick question. Who here would consider themselves a feminist? Well, show of hands. Okay. Did you know that in Canada, only 59% of the population would consider themselves to be a feminist? I attribute this low statistic to the fact that most people consider feminism to be a relic of the past, no longer needed in our modern-day world, an egregious misconception. The belief is that feminism has achieved its goals. I mean, hey, we can vote now. We totally have equal rights. Who needs activism, right? Yeah. Now, I've only existed on this planet for 18 years, but I can tell you that that is very far from the truth. While some people would argue that feminism is no longer relevant, the persistence of inequality tells a different story. Take, for example, the gender pay gap, which some people would like to believe doesn't exist. According to a 2022 study in Canada, men currently earn 12% more than women. Now, if you ask me, that's a pretty big gap already, but it gets even bigger when you look at minorities. For immigrants who came to Canada as children, the gap is 11%, and then jumps up to 20% for Indigenous women and 21% for immigrant women who arrived in Canada as adults. There's even a gap in traditionally female-dominated fields like healthcare and education. We have the right to vote, the right to education. We're supposed to be equals, so why does this gap still exist? Institutionalized discrimination means that there is unfair treatment or a lack of opportunities in systems like schools or workplaces, often due to factors like one's race, gender, or ability. These barriers can manifest in various forms, such as unequal pay scales, biased hiring and promotional practices, and a lack of representation in decision-making roles. Despite making up nearly half of the global workforce, women are severely underrepresented in executive and board positions. Statistics show that only 10% of Fortune 500 companies have female CEOs, and women hold barely a quarter of the board seats. Research has shown that diverse leadership teams are more innovative and better equipped to handle complex problems, yet women still face barriers to these roles. A big example of inequality to me can be seen in the fight for women's reproductive rights. Worldwide, women face barriers in accessing contraception, abortion, and maternal care. These challenges are worsened by restrictive policies, inadequate healthcare infrastructure, and a general social stigma surrounding women's reproductive choices. Let's look at a recent example of this. In July 2022, the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The overturning of Roe v. Wade meant that a woman's decision to have an abortion or continue a pregnancy was no longer protected by the United States Constitution. This decision meant that states get to decide the legality of abortion themselves. Now, sadly, I don't have time to go into the many effects this has had on women, but I can tell you this. The overturning of Roe v. Wade didn't stop abortions from happening. It stopped them from happening safely. It's very important to note that any barriers women face are even more pronounced for women of minorities. Intersectionality, a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, refers to the interconnectedness of one's social identity and experiences. For example, women of marginalized communities like women of color, LGBTQ+ individuals, and women with differing abilities often face unique and worse forms of discrimination. Women of color face challenges such as racial profiling, bias in the healthcare system, and a lack of economic opportunities, in addition to gender-based discrimination. An example of this can be seen in the controversy surrounding the Grammy Awards. In 2023, rapper and artist Cardi B received backlash surrounding her career as a woman of color in the music industry. Despite great success and talent, she faced derogatory comments surrounding her race, gender, and background. This shows how in cases that claim to celebrate diversity, women are still met with discrimination regarding their intersecting identities. This can be circled back to the issue of Roe v. Wade, where in states like Texas, restrictive abortion laws disproportionately affect low-income women and women of color. The other day, while I was doing as I do, scrolling on TikTok, I learned something new. When you look up synonyms for manly, you are met with a plethora of options. Brave, bold, gallant, daring, and so forth. When you look up synonyms for womanly, you just get thick. Now, all this to say that women clearly face a lot of barriers, hence why we need feminism. Now, I'm not saying that we should force everyone to be feminist. That's not going to accomplish anything. But the idea of feminism is still extremely relevant. I think I should probably clarify what exactly feminism is. Feminism is a movement that advocates for the social, political, and economic equality of all genders. At its core, feminism seeks to dismantle patriarchal systems that perpetuate gender oppression. Feminism is a dynamic and evolving movement. It represents a vision of a world in which everyone is treated with love, dignity, and respect, regardless of who they are. By debunking the myth of post-feminism, we can continue the journey towards true gender equality.